Ah, hey, hey, in-house sanctuary. Hey, online sanctuary. Hey, I am absolutely delighted to be back in the house. And so just very briefly, knowing that God, the good to which there is no opposite, that I choose to call Oludumare because it is all encompassing of all of life, that I am one with that, that we are each one with that. And therefore, we are having a oneness conversation up in here today. It is with an attitude of gratitude that I again and again and again and again and again simply say thank you. Thank you, Oludumare, Mother, Father, God, for all that we are and all that we are becoming. And so it is, Ashe, Amen, Amen, Aho. Hey, so there is a tradition in some uh, cultures. I'm going to say it's a tradition, particularly in the African American old school church, that we start events by asking the oldest person in the room if it's okay to proceed. I'm just sharing that with you because I'm not getting ready to do that. I'm actually going to go to the other end because we have a young person in the room today. We have a princess. I call all little folks that gender identify as girls as princesses, and as boys as princes, and everything in between as royalty, right? So we've got some royalty in the house. And what I have taken to doing, and I've been doing it for a while, and I want to invite you to share this practice. Now, this is the asterisk part. You know how you put asterisk? This is the asterisk. Do not go harassing people's children. But when you see them, and today I'm going to honor and acknowledge two things. One, and this comes off of a plaque that someone gave me when my daughter was born, that babies, children, are an affirmation and a confirmation of the divine's permission for us to continue as humanity. Yes? And so the other thing that I do either mentally, or sometimes if it's a little baby, I'll actually say it to them with the parents' permission. I'm going to say that part again. With the parents' permission. Say it with me. With the parents' permission, is I thank them for coming to the planet. I thank them for being on the planet right now. Kathy alluded earlier to the fact that tomorrow is Earth Day, and I'm going to talk a little bit, maybe a lot of bit, about that. But I am just so grateful for all these babies that have said, I guess I need to come and help y'all out. I'm just grateful, and I'm grateful for their parents that said yes to being a vehicle, a channel for them to come through. And I am excited about all the wonderliciousness that they have for us. And so I invite us to, again, in our consciousness, in our awareness, to shift ourselves from, let me tell you what to do, to, what would you have me do to support you in your mission here on earth, right? Okay, can we get with that program? It's just a suggestion because, and then I'm going to get into what y'all invited me here to talk about. Um, what we see in the world is what we've created. So if we really knew how to do this, pause. So allow them to bring their newness and their new ideas and their new ways and support them. Ashe. All right. So this idea of trust in somebody's God we trust, right? In somebody, because we wouldn't even be looking at this idea of trust and how do we build trust? How do we build it in community if we didn't feel that there was some kind of a disconnect from that idea, that principle? And I just have this $1 bill here because I had to double check. I had to go back and say, I wrote this. Yeah, we put it on our money and I sent it in. And then it was like after I hit send, well, let me check. Is that still on the money? And sure enough, it still is. In God we trust. And so I'm going to kind of cut to the chase a little bit. I think in so many respects, we have made this the God that we trust in. And, that's kind of one of those little platitudinal things that we just say. Howsoever, it has come to my attention, and now I'm going to bring it to your attention because that's what I get to do. That's what we ministers get to do. It has come to my attention that it may be a little bit more problematic than I had previously thought, right? What does that mean? Well, that means that, particularly in my younger, I'm not going to say in my youth and my baby, but in my younger, in my, 20s, in my teens and 20s, that's a time when we were super idealistic. Yes. There was this idea of, well, we're worshiping money and money is not the most important thing and blah, blah, blah. And then we get the Huxtable experience, right? There's an episode where Theo is like, I just think I get to do what I want to do. And dad says, okay, then we're going to charge you some rent, right? Or we move out and we get our own first place and we find out not only is there rent, there's PG&E, there are all kinds of bills that come along with this thing called life. Then we start to get a little bit different perspective about money, right? We shift to, ooh, I need to go get me some of that. In my own case, I moved from, yeah, I'll finish school when I, get time, right? To shifting into parenthood. I had my daughter. My daughter was born. I had started college, at least 2 or 3 times and done a little bit here and a little bit there and easily distracted. But once I had this person that I am now responsible for clothing and feeding and housing and educating and all of that, it became like, oh, okay. What do I need? I need a piece of paper with my name on it that says bachelor's of something. Oh, and if I get one with masters or something, y'all will give me even more money? Oh, yeah, well, let's do that. Right? And so I'm going into all of this story because I'm not saying that we don't need money. My favorite course, my favorite prosperity course is called the Principles of Financial Freedom. And in that course, it says specifically there may be places in the universe where we don't need money, but this is not one of them. So I want you to be 100% clear that I'm not hating on money. And Centers for Spiritual Living is doing a magnificent group of programs around Earth Day. And Marilyn has the links. She doesn't know that she has the links, but she has the links, and I'm going to invite her to share those links with the community. And one of those events actually happened yesterday. The DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, did a presentation on Earth Day. And the overarching title is The Earth Will Have Her Way, will have its way. The Earth will have its way. And one of the things that came out in that presentation from the guest presenter who works for, her name is Reverend Chelsea McMillan, and she is the climate finance campaign organizer for an organization called Green Faith. And what she shared was that $100,000 invested or deposited with one of our major banks does more harm to the planet than, and she named X number of tons of fossil fuel. That was a pause, like, wait, what? And so, what she was suggesting is that we look at where our monies are invested. This is where I'm circling back. I had to pause. I had to go, wait, what? Because, I'm retired from a public sector job. And from that public sector job, I get retirement income. And that retirement income comes from the state of California PERS investing our retirement funds and generating retirement income. Are y'all with me? Mm-hmm. So I'll personalize it because you may not. I'm having what my mother would have called a come to Jesus moment. Having already established that money is definitely something that we need to thrive in our society, in our culture, and on the planet, the opportunity that we have now is to look at how do we balance, which is a wonderful word to use when we're talking about money. How do we balance how we circulate our money with how we heal the planet from the wounds that we've created? And I'm putting a big question mark there. I'm not giving you an answer because, and this flows right into our conversation about trust, because it's a personal thing, because we individually have to look at this, I'm going to call it deeper or higher or wider level of what is mine to do? What is mine to do? What is mine to do when we're talking about healing the earth, healing the planet? And we are all, this crowd, this group of people, we are all on board with, we recycle, reuse, and, we do all the things. It's time to go deeper. It's time to go deeper into what is it that is mine to do? On this question of trust, I very almost serendipitously, and looking for a reference, discovered on my Kindle, Trust. That's the title of a book by none other than Iyanla Vanzant. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that Iyanla has to say. She says, when it comes to trusting others and trusting the process, it is foolish to think your personal and social programming and conditioning will not impact you. Who you are, what you do, and what you believe is both determined and impacted by what you inherit from the environment and lineage into which you are born. In our diversity and inclusion class for ministers, we call that socialization. That's the socialization that happens from the time we're born into whatever families or circumstances that we're born in. It's those formative years. We used to have big posters saying, first five. They still do that. Don't they talk about first five? The most influential years in a person's life, that first five, we're getting socialized. So when we're looking at this issue of trust and who we don't trust and how we trust, the first place we get to start is way back then. It's how are we socialized? And someplace in that, looking at how we were socialized, we get to ask the question, do I trust myself? Do I trust myself? Ayanla invites us to consider that first we trust God. Actually, Jacquelyn invites us to consider that first we trust God, because Ayanla actually puts self trust first. I'm putting trust God first, and I'll maybe circle back to that depending on time. But her four places: trusting God, trusting self. See how I just did that? That's my own socialization. I just told you that she put trusting self first. But yet, when I say it again, I went right back to what I believe, trusting God first. And I'm using that as just a little teeny tiny example of how easily we go to what we know, what we believe, what we are planted in. Right. And so, just as I'm being vigilant about myself and what's coming out of my mouth in the moment, we get to be vigilant about. And vigilant is a kind of strong word. So, I'm going to say watch. I'm going to say watch. And then when we watch, when we see that what's coming out of my mouth may not be user friendly to me or you, then I get to change it. I get to shift. I get to change it in the moment. Trust in self, God, others, and life. That's Ayanla's list. This idea of trusting in self as a foundation is an idea to me that says that, well, it's the principle that we teach. If I don't trust myself, I can't trust you, right? How do I build trust in myself? I build trust in myself by knowing who and whose I am. I build trust in myself by remembering what I say I believe. This is another one of those rubber meets the road moments, right? What do I say I believe? I say that I believe that God is all there is, that there is a power in the universe and that I can use it. Well, is that true? Do I actually believe that? Or is it just something that I'm saying? Again, my mama would say, the proof is in the pudding. What Ernest Holmes says is the fear of loss of health, loss of friends, loss of property, all arise from the belief that God is not all that we claim. Exactly. Coming back to trusting somebody's God, right? Again, we say, and he goes on to say what we say we believe about God: omniscient God, all knowing, omnipotent, all powerful, omnipresent, everywhere present. And in New Thought, we've added omniactive. Michael Beckwith has added omniactive. God is always busy, right? Even when I'm sleeping, the universe is not sleeping. Omniactive and omni-loving. Omni-loving. The divine loves everyone and everything. He goes on to say to correct all the evils of the world. That's a powerful statement, Uncle Ernie. To correct all the evils of the world would be but to have the positive faith, faith rightly placed, a faith that lays hold of the integrity of the universe. Now we can call that, I'm going to call that calling God out, calling spirit out. We don't have to wonder if the divine is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. We can call it out. We can taste and see. We can actually look around us. And I feel like witness, I'm weaving back a little bit now to tomorrow being Earth Day, the fact that it is a beautiful day, the fact that we have this beautiful garden here, the fact that we walk the world, even when we're seeing the things that are out of whack, even when we're seeing the things that are not working for everyone, that we walk the world in a way that solutions come to us, that ways of healing come to us. Those are all proof, evidence that there is a power for good in the universe, and there's a reciprocity in that we can use it, and it can and does, when we say yes, use us. Ayanla says, what you believe about God is a function of what you know and understand about who and what God is in your life. You cannot learn it from a book, nor can you rely on your intellect. I'm going to pause there. I know for us New Thought people, that's a bit much. That's a hard pill to swallow. What? I can't get it from my intellect? Do you know how many books I've read? I think I have 200 books on my Kindle. You cannot get it. You cannot rely on your intellect. Understanding Olodumare spirit unfolds through your soul. Unfolds through your soul, unfolds through that which we connect with in our meditation practice, unfolds through listening to and hearing that still small voice that speaks to us, that guides us. It is that still small voice that will essentially inform us. This is a community in which I can trust. This is an individual that I can trust. It is that still small voice that continuously helps us, supports us, guides us, leads us in anchoring that self-trust. Because when I have that self-trust, I'm listening and I'm obeying that voice. And as I am listening to and obeying that voice, every place I go, every conversation I have, every interaction I have, then I recognize whether in fact you are someone that I can lean on. I recognize, I know, I understand, I feel. The soul feels. The soul does not know, the soul feels. I feel whether or not you are someone that can lean on me. In the space, in the room, every time I come to this place, and at one point it was Oh my God, it's such a bright, sunshiny room. And it is. I want to invite you all who are in the virtual sanctuary. If you can come to this place, you need to come check it out. Now, I understand if you're in another state, and that's okay too. But this is a beautiful, beautiful space. It's got fabulous um, flags hanging on the wall. And this one that has trust written on it shows someone helping someone up the hill, right? Someone pulling someone else. Back to our song. If you need a hand, lean on me. But it's not any of that. It's not any of that. And it's all of that because it is the people, it is the people. And I've been coming here long enough that I can confidently tell y'all, all of you, that this is not because everybody in here always, all the time, 24/7, 365 loves up on each other. There is not that. There is disagreement. There is, what did you say? There is all of that. But all of that is operating in a cauldron. And I mean that in the sense of a great big pot where we're stirring it up in a cauldron of love. Because that is the vessel that trust has to spring from. Ayana says, since our true nature is to be trusting, every small violation of individual trust creates a ripple effect that ultimately impacts the entire world in which we live. That's how important we are as individuals. And that's how powerful trust is in our lives. Every small violation of individual trust creates a rippling effect that ultimately impacts the entire world. Now, that's a lot. But what we know is that the converse is also true. every every small confirmation, affirmation, every time I show up in a way, every time each of us shows up in a way that says that we are trustworthy, that we've done the work to trust ourselves and therefore establish ourselves in the world as people to be trusted. Every time we do that, then we are in effect setting a rippling effect out that ultimately impacts the entire world in which we live. There is some risk involved. There is the risk of being subject to being totally and completely broken down and coming back together again in a different form. Metamorphosis is the core of this ministry of mine, Platinum Butterfly Ministries. Metamorphosis at its core is what we are required to do. How do we know we're required to do that? Look around. Look around. See what's going on in the world. We need to do it differently. Doing it differently. This is totally embarrassing. That is my phone. Thank you, Nancy. Doing it differently means that we take ourselves to our core and we love ourselves up and we learn to trust ourselves. And as we learn to trust ourselves, we learn to trust each other. So we learn to trust each other. We learn to trust in community. As we learn to trust in community, we learn to trust in the world. No matter where or how we live in the world, trust is an essential requirement for human life. Without it, there can be no peace of mind. Trust in self, trust in God, trust in others, and trust in life are like oxygen. We can't live without them. Ashe, amen. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I started out recognizing the youngest one in the room. And as I'm glancing, I see we've got a teenager. I'm guessing we got a teenager in the house as well. Now, this is somebody that said, yeah, I'm going to come help y'all out. And now I have reached an age where not only do I have ideas and thoughts, but I don't appreciate y'all pushing me aside just because I might not look like you want me to look on any given day, just because I might not be expressing it in the way that you want me to express it. So again, just as we thank our little ones, we thank our, I'm going to call it our mid-level ones too. She's smiling. We thank them too. And we say we love you. And we thank God for you. And we're grateful. And we're listening and paying attention, even when it sounds like not listening, not paying attention. And we're doing that in the content and the context that we are co-creating a new way of walking and being in the world. Ashe? All right. Thank you.